Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the world's greatest homesteading channel on the internet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading off the grid. We're back for some more tales for another beautiful October night. And folks, this evening I'm going to read some of your stories, a couple that were submitted from viewers like you, possibly you, if one had to be told anonymously. The other is Stanley Bowers. If you're watching tonight, we're going to tell your story called Night of the Creepy Crawlies. It's a really, dude, they could have made a movie about this in the 80s. It would have been a blockbuster hit. So if you've been showing up every night, I hope you're enjoying the stories. I would encourage each and every one of you who has a story of your own to submit them to the channel. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. Give us your permission to use them. We'll share them here on the channel. And we'll put them in the upcoming editions, however many you send, of True Hauntings. This is volume 4 we're reading from tonight that just came out weeks ago. We're already putting volume 5 together because so many of you have been submitting your stories. They're wonderful stories. Can't wait to get them out there and share them. So anyway, as my beautiful bride dearly, aka Giggly Girl, would say, with no further ado, let's get to the story. And this evening, unlike the last couple evenings, I actually remembered to bring my old man reading glasses. Whoa, there I am. Well, that makes a world of difference. All right. Submitted by Stanley Bowers. Night of the Creepy Crawlies. Hey there, Mr. Crazy Lakes. I haven't been called that since I was in basic training down in Fort Benning, Georgia. All those drill instructors down there call me Lakes all the time. I'd tell them there's only one of me, and of course, that one of me got to do 100 push-ups, but they never learned, and neither did I. But I ended up being in pretty good shape. Okay. Hey there, Mr. Crazy Lakes. My name is Stanley Bowers. I'm 56 years old, and I have lived in Madison, Mississippi my whole life. You can share my story however you'd like, and you can use my name. I don't give a rat's ass what people think. When I was 9 years old, we had one of those once-in-a-century storms. We lived in a 2-story house that had a basement. Our basement flooded, and it was the only time that ever happened of all the times we lived in that house. Maybe all the times it rained that you lived in that house. Not busting your balls, Stanley. Sorry, and Lady Erie should have caught that. So, the water in the basement got up to about 3 feet deep. Me and my brother and our sister, both of them a couple of years younger than me, would go check the water levels from the top of the stairs every 30 minutes or so. The rains finally stopped and the water in the basement started to recede, and that's when the weird stuff happened. When the water got down to about a foot, we started noticing that there was something swimming in it just beneath the surface. As you might imagine, the water was all dark and dirty, and you couldn't see anything in it as far as detail goes, so there was no way of making out what was swimming. But every time we'd sit there on the top of the stairs, we'd look down and we'd notice the waves in the water as something was swimming just beneath the surface. And there were like 6 or 8 of these things, whatever they were. We told our parents, and they said there's no way fish got in there. Fish can't swim through walls. They actually thought we were making it up, but to try to placate us, they came and took a look for themselves, and sure enough, they saw what we'd been seeing too. As the water continued to go down, we continued to watch, our excitement growing, believing we'd finally get to see what was moving around in the water. We sat up half the night and we watched this effect as the water got down to mere inches. We had no idea how big the creepy crawlies, that's what we came to call them, were, so we didn't know when we'd start seeing dorsal fins or whatever these things had. Well, we eventually got so tired that sleep overtook us. The next morning when we woke up, we raced to the top of the stairs of the basement and we saw that all the water was gone. However, there was about 6 inches of mud remaining, and we could now see the creepy crawlies doing their thing underneath the surface of the mud. What in the hell are those things, my dad said, and then he went to his closet and got his boots. You don't need to be in there walking around with those things, my mom told him. You have no idea what they are. They're probably eels, my dad said. Then he laced up his boots and walked down into the mud of the basement. He made his way over to a tool rack and took down a garden hoe. He began feeling through the mud where we'd seen the last creepy crawly move. Mr. Crazy Lakes, my dad hit up against whatever those things were, one of them at least, and from underneath the mud it let out an ear-splitting screech, the likes of which I'd never heard before, nor have I heard since. My dad dropped the hoe and put both hands over both ears. We all did the same from the top of the stairs. Then we watched as all the creepy crawlies' movements from under the mud made a beeline to the same spot up against the wall of the basement. Dad followed and he dug away the mud, and he saw that there was a crack in the wall there, a little hole, really, about the size of a golf ball. The creepy crawlies must have gone out the hole, hidden under the surface of the mud, because we never saw any more movement, and when we finally got the basement all cleaned up, we found no evidence that they'd been there. I know it was eels, or I know it wasn't eels. It couldn't have been fish either, because fish can't live in mud like that, at least none that I know of, and I can't imagine any sort of natural aquatic animal that could make the ear-splitting screech that thing made when my dad brushed up against it with the hoe. I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. Perhaps some of your viewers or readers have had similar experiences. If they had, I would love it if they'd let me know what the hell those creepy crawlies were. I find myself thinking about them about every time it rains, all these years later. Thanks for all that you do on your YouTube channel, and I enjoy your humor on your Facebook page. All the best, Stanley Bowers. The end. Well, Stanley, thank you so much for your story. We appreciate your submission. Wow, that's crazy. But you remember what I said about being like a really awesome 80s horror movie? I mean, that was the thing back then, no? So remember, folks, if you got a story that is weird, hey, the weirder it is, the better. Send it in. crazylake@mail.com. Now, moving on. Where's the next one I had earmarked here? Here it is. I referenced this story about a month or so ago. I'd gotten it actually after we were ready to go to print. These books, we make sure they're at least 40,000 words long. That's how long a full-length novel is, so we want to make sure that you're getting some meat and potatoes here for your reading. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of stories. So we had the cutoff date. We were finalizing the edits, and we were going to print, but this story came in, and we squeezed it in here because we had just enough time to get in here, and I think it's a perfect story for Halloween. I know it is, so it's a perfect tale for October nights. So I told you a little bit about it, but now I'm going to actually read it to you. It's called Knock Knock Run. Okay? Hi, Kevin. I love your channel, Homesteading Off the Grid, on YouTube. I've been watching for years. I used to try to figure out if you were really crazy or not, but I think I've come to the conclusion that you are. Like a fox. You're a damn genius, and I think the reason you used to have a problem with so many trolls is because they finally realized, after years of calling you stupid and an idiot, that you were making a small, perhaps not so small, fortune off of their views and comments. So in the end, the joke was on them. And not because your videos were fake, like so many of them always claimed. I know I have seen many oddities in your videos that cannot be explained rationally, but which in no way were fake, but because you basically have been building a fortune off of their hatred. Whereas they never grasped the concept of not watching videos they didn't like, created by a guy they didn't like. You fully understand. They were pure profit. Kudos to you, young man. Pretty much. I never understood why people who hated me so much and would insult me so much in the comment section kept coming back every night to watch my videos. But all I know is the bank account just kept getting fatter and fatter every time they did, so I just kept going. With all this shameful praise of your genius finished with, I want to relay a story to you. It's something my wife and I have been experiencing for more than 20 years now, and it always happens on Halloween, which I think is quite fitting for the little books you put together. I only ask that you keep me anonymous because basically it is my belief that we're dealing with the aftermath of a man who got away with murders, and his family's descendants are still very powerful people in my small Southwest Virginia town, and I don't want to feel their wrath should word of my telling of this tale, which paints their patriarch in a very bad light, get out. She ain't talking to someone who doesn't understand the workings of backwood politics, brother. Backwater politics, so you will remain anonymous. My wife and I have been married for more than 50 years. After our third and youngest child flew the nest, we decided to move into town. We'd raised our children on 10 acres out in the country, and frankly, once I was in my late 50s, I'd grown tired of all the upkeep necessary on such a large place. We were never active farmers or anything, but as you know, as a sizable property owner yourself, just mowing the lawn and keeping the weeds down so that you present yourself as respectable is quite a chore. Yes, it is. Sure, we had neighbors, like I'm sure you do, who didn't care for their properties and let them go to shit, but frankly, my wife and I have always had too much self-respect to do that. The answer for us, it seemed, was to move into town. Oh yeah, we got neighbors like that. Looks like a cyclone hit their place. Doesn't seem to bother them a bit. But just one household. The rest take immaculate care of their properties, and it looks great, just like ours do. We ended up buying an old mansion on Main Street. Yes, we did quite well for ourselves in our working years, and we still had bags of money left after selling our land. We always admired this old mansion when we passed it years ago while in town, and when it hit the market, we offered the asking price and we closed on it quickly. Now, here's the backstory of the mansion, and where I think the paranormal activity that we experience here comes from. The owner of the mansion back in the late 1800s was the local judge. He was a very straight and narrow man, and he was an old Bible-beating tyrant from the days of pure Puritanism. He never married, though he was rumored to have fathered several bastard children, and he didn't celebrate holidays, especially Halloween. Well, I'll be dipped in horse shit. You know who just went by? The October Rider. Caught on film again. Every October like clockwork. Wow. That story's from 3 or 4 days ago. Go back in the videos. Y'all think I'm making this stuff up? Okay. Never married, rumored to have fathered several bastard children. Didn't celebrate holidays, especially Halloween. The story goes that on All Hallows Eve, he would tie ropes across his walkway so children couldn't reach his porch to trick-or-treat. Kevin, over the course of about 20 years, during the time the old judge lived in the mansion, there were at least half a dozen children in our small community who went missing on Halloween night. You cannot find anything about this on Google because it was in the late 1800s, and being that our community was small and that the man who wielded the most power in our community, the judge who used to reside in our mansion, was the central suspect of the disappearances, no public record of these disappearances has been kept. However, when the old judge died, the Halloween night disappearances stopped. We got company. Get my 6. The story of the disappearances is an urban legend in our small community, and the other part of the legend is that the children would dare each other to play knock knock run on the judge's door on Halloween night. The legend further states that these were the children, the ones brave enough to do so, who were never seen again. Kevin, God is my witness, every Halloween night since my wife and I moved into this old Main Street mansion more than 20 years ago, we have heard knocks on the door, only to answer it and see no one there. And we know it is not children playing knock knock run because just like most people these days, we have ring cams on our front porch. And we have literally gone back and watched the footage when we've heard the knocks, and there is not a person on the porch at all, though I promise you the knocks come. It always happens several hours after trick-or-treating has stopped. Never has it happened before midnight, and it usually stops shortly after 3 a.m. Kevin, I'm convinced the knocks are coming from the ghosts of the missing children, who in my opinion were murdered by the judge. Should we ever find any evidence of what might have happened to the bodies, I'll be sure to message you then with that story. Until then, keep up the great work on your YouTube channel and give your beautiful family my blessings. Oh, and happy Halloween. Anonymous. The end. Thank you so much for that story. Again, folks, if you've got anything associated with the paranormal, supernatural, aliens, UFOs, cryptids, abductions, just simply unexplainable, send it to us. The address at the channel is crazylake@mail.com. Hope you enjoyed that story. Hope you've been enjoying all these stories on all these October nights. And we'll see you tomorrow night for more.